Hi, welcome to the Fit and Healthy Today show. And today our topic matter is the discussion of salt, particularly Himalayan salt, pink salt. You know, salt is a very controversial topic. And you know, I have a lot of doctors now that recommend that their patients keep their salt or sodium content low, and because of blood pressure issues and kidney issues and a load of other health issues. And so I did some research on this. You know, I recently opened a store and which we feature Himalayan salt lamps and Himalayan salts and all that type of stuff here in Lompoc. And I'd done some research, but never to the depth that I have done that I'm going to present to you today. And so I think it's really important that you recognize there's a difference in salts. Complete difference in salts, and I think it's maybe I can educate you a little bit so you have a better idea of what type of salt to use and what the benefits of real salt are and what the destructive abilities of table salt can be. So when we define salt, okay, the word salt originally comes from the Latin word for sun or soul and the Celtic German word for holy, wholeness, or sound vibration. So Himalayan sea salts or pink sea salts consist of sodium chloride, but they also have calcium, magnesium, potassium, and 72 other trace minerals at different variances. Now, your body requires 0.007 ounces of salt per day. Now, this is real salt, active, living salt that's compressed for millions of years under the right conditions. Most salt mines that we have out nowadays that process sea salt have not been under extreme amounts of pressures like you're going to get like within the Himalayas, where you've got so much pressure that it's made these salts into crystalline forms that are actually live salt forms. Now, the average consumption of table salt, now mind you, I said 0.007 ounces of salt per day. The average consumption of table salt per day is 0.4 to 0.7 ounces per day. Now you can do the math on that and you can pretty much see that's 10 times the amount of sodium. I'm sorry, 100 times the amount of salt that you should be getting in one day, primarily because table salt is not real salt. It's sodium chloride. So remember, most sodium chlorides, 93% of them, are used for industrial uses. But the other 7% is put in our food. So when you look at a can of soup and you see a 700, 800 milligrams of sodium, that is sodium chloride. That's junk. That's pure salt in which they've removed all the trace minerals, anything beneficial in it, and they say, here's something called salt. Not even by definition what we would consider as real salt. And it is a toxic chemical that raises blood pressure, causes all sorts of metabolic disorders, kidney disorders, energy issues. Later on in this broadcast, we're going to go through and show you what happened when they did an experimentation with salt and different energy measurements in the body. Now, when we look at actual sodium chloride from table salt, we can see that it's a very aggressive substance that tries to seek out some type of biochemical equalizing counterpart, other minerals. Because what happens when that table salt hits the blood, it's a toxic chemical. And the body, it's going to look for binding agents because its pH is not proper and its charge to it is not proper. So it's going to pull whatever minerals it possibly can out of the bones and the tissues in order to bring it to the proper level so that it can maintain that 7.35 pH in the body, wreaking havoc on the metabolic of the body. It's going to make you tired, you're going to feel lousy, and every organ in your body is going to actually have malfunctioning. If you've ever eaten a bowl of the nice little canned soups, you'll notice that you instantly start swelling in your body when you eat all that type of sodium. Well, metabolically, it's throwing you completely out of balance. So docs are right as far as not utilizing table salt, but they haven't fully defined what type of salt you actually do need. So when you get that acidic edema that occurs, you get higher levels of uric acid being produced in the kidney. So I think a lot of gout we're seeing, a lot of people say it's the food, and yeah, we've got acidic foods and all of that, but I think it's the tremendous overconsumption of table salt that's causing the body to produce uric acid, so the bones and the muscles release the minerals to bind. So then you'll end up with all these kidney stones, gallstones, gout, crystallization formations on the vascular system. I think salt is probably, table salt is one of the most destructive things that we can have in our diet. I think it's destructive as sugar. And I know that's a broad statement, but if you read the research I've read, you would be convinced. Now, when we consider that actual rock salt, which is mostly the sea salts that we're getting from the grocery store, are not live. When you look at the actual pictures of them under the microscope, they're better than table salt, because table salt literally has no life. It's dead. There's nothing to it, no beautiful crystalline formations, nothing, no life to it on an energetic level. And remember, salts and minerals, salts, trace minerals, all of that, help you transfer energy for every nerve function, muscle function that is performed in the body. So good luck if you work out and you don't have actual good crystal types of salts. You're not going to transfer data and information in the body. You got a lot of stress, you're not going to transfer information and data in the body, the brain, or the mind. I've used Himalayan pink salts for years and years and years, and I do notice a difference as far as my brain activities and my memory abilities are significantly better when I avoid other sodium sources and just stick with the Himalayan pink salts. Let's look at the benefits now. And I think, you know, we've talked a lot, and I could go into a scientific explanation on table salt, but I won't. In other words, avoid it. So we need a good quality Himalayan pink type of salt in order to get that beautiful live structure of salt. So there is so much research that has been done on active salts that have been under compression. And there are salt mines in Europe, and there are other salt mines, and not just Himalayan pink salts, but that's the best type of salt that we can get that's easily, that we can buy and get and that we know works. But there are, for example, salt caves literally in Europe where they can take asthmatic patients into them. The asthma goes away. They literally took liver patients, people who were having near liver failure, and after 2.5 hours drew blood and put it in through liver enzymes, returned temporarily to normal. So there are solutions that you can make called Soleil, in which you can get proper balance of these Himalayan sea salts, and we'll start having them at our stores available so you can buy them and you can add them into your water. But when you're looking at any of these types of salts, they're vital for all biochemical reactions, all organ functions in the body. And I've got a graphic that I want to show you that Bill copied, and we're going to get it up, and hopefully it films through properly on the TV screen. Now, the top screen shows a normal individual. They're not done a lot of excessive table salt, just a regular individuals as an average, and they've got some sodium issues. And you can see they're pretty much, the white areas are within normal range, the pink areas, they're not doing too bad, but the brain is a little bit overactive, particularly if you notice on the left side. Now that's takes away from some of the creativity and everything else that occurs. Now, the second photos show across the board when someone's been given just a diluted solution, and not even as much as you get in a bowl of soup, of just regular table salt. And you'll see those green areas, and look at them. That's very low energy that's occurring in the body. Low energy in the right portion of the brain. And that's your creative side. When you lower the energy on that, good luck in creating anything wonderful, beautiful, or the emotional side of an individual. The lack of compassion, all of that occurs when you lower the energy in that right side of that brain. Hence why we probably have so many left-sided brain people who only think analytically and never bring and involve any compassion or emotion. So literally, ADD people or people who have any focus and concentration, this will just disable them if you do regular table salt. Bottom picture shows a solution of Soleil, and it's like a 1% solution you add into water, and this stays in the body for like 24 hours. But look at that. Almost all functions are in normal range or very low active range, and that's only because there's the heart, and the heart is pretty active. So big, huge difference between what we see when people ingest table salts versus a Himalayan pink salt and active crystal salt. Bill, thank you for that graphic, and we're going to move on with the rest of the show. So we know that salt, based upon that picture, will neutralize harmful electromagnetic vibrations. Hence, you know, nuclear power plants, you know where the nuclear power waste all goes? They put them in salt mines. You know why? Because the salt neutralizes the effects of the radiation. So when you ingest and take in proper amounts of crystalline salts, your cell phones, your electromagnetics, your computers, it will aid and abet your body in dealing with these assaults of all this electromagnetic activity. They're estimating in about the course of 10 years that each person will own about 30 different electromagnetic devices that they'll utilize, each person. So the electromagnetic disruption that'll take place, but using these types of crystalline salts in a proper way will help bring the body back into balance as far as electromagnetic activity is concerned. Now, when you have a lack of crystal salts, what they've discovered in the lack of proper salt is you have a 400% increased risk of having a heart attack. So I'm hearing doctors say no salt. Yeah, they're right, no table salt, but hey, we forgot about all the good types of salts that help the heart react and function properly. So these heavy metals also flush out, or excuse me, these crystalline Himalayan salts actually flush out heavy metals. They help you have bowel movements. They clean the organs. As you noticed in the pictures that we saw there, function in a balanced, normal state. They also have research on showing that they lessen carbohydrate cravings. Boy, oh boy, I'm hearing day and night, what can I take for carbohydrate cravings? And, you know, I have some supplements and Garcinia cambogia and other things I recommend to people, but they're going to probably laugh at me when I hand them a bottle of Soleil and say, here, do this for the next 30 days, and let's see what happens to your carb cravings. Also, it's been shown for addiction cravings, alcohol cravings. This type of mixture on this Himalayan sea salt is a phenomenal healer. Now, you can also bathe in these types of salts. And literally, with a proper 1% solution, it takes probably about 2 pounds of that Himalayan salt. And it literally can pull out toxic chemicals out of the body, bring the pH back into normal. And for psoriasis and eczema, there's some wonderful clinical studies on those Himalayan sea salts being able to help bring in the healing properties on the skin as well, too. I know me, I have suffered off and on from eczema and psoriasis for, since I was a little kid. And they make a tremendous, every day I put that in my bath water, and it makes a tremendous difference in the health of my skin when I do it. When I forget it, it doesn't work. Now, we also do have Himalayan salt lamps available. And what you can do with those is you plug them in, and depending on the size of the lamp, what happens is the light bulb that's inside warms the salt. It takes it a couple hours, but after a couple hours, you'll get an 8 to 12 hour span around you of negative ions that you're breathing in that literally, if it's in the room of ADD and ADHD kids, can make a tremendous difference in their overall actions and reactions in the brain. You saw that graphic that Bill put up, and it was just a phenomenal difference in how the electromagnetic activity was reacting in all the organs in the body. So there are ways that you can actually take it with you as well, or plug it near computers and that type of thing. A lot of information in a very short period of time, but I want you to have the best idea or information available so that you know when you come in to a good health food store whatever. You grab the Himalayan pink salts, proper usage, we won't see a spiking of blood pressure, beneficial health. So don't ignore salt. It can be very healing and very beneficial. Thank you very much for joining this portion of our show. Next, we're going to be moving on to the research portion of our show. Thank you very much. Hi, welcome to the research portion of our show. And with us today is Ralph Turchiano.
Well, remember a game, thank you for the intro. Remember a game growing up as a child that used to be called Ding Dong or Doorbell Ditch that we used to play when life was a little easier? Well, the media likes to play a game too. Kind of like Doorbell Ditch or Ding Dong Ditch, but what they like to do is come out, say something, and then go run under a rock and hide. Kind of like we did as kids. Well, in this well-observed meta-analysis, the media came out and made a statement which obviously requires a little bit of rebuttal, albeit so very short, saying vitamin pills are a waste of money, experts warn. Well, in the light of a bunch of old scientists angry that the mother made him eat Brussels sprouts growing up, I don't quite understand what an expert is. Well, what they did is this. They claimed to take a large meta-analysis. What is a meta-analysis, you may ask? Is what we call pick and choose what you want until you get the argument that you like. Well, they did this meta-analysis of supposedly 500,000 people and came to the conclusion that vitamins did not work. Albeit those who took elementary school science without footnotes or references outside of their own fancy diplomas. Yes, their diplomas may have been built upon science and studying the sacrifice of hordes of people over millennia, but you're only supposed to trust them now because they have a diploma. Bing, I will say vitamins don't work, and I will go run, and therefore I'll be embedded in your psyche, and I'll never have to justify what I say. Well, what they did was this. In their words, quote, one of the research papers involved the retrospective study of 24 previous trials on a total of 450,000 anonymous people. The paper concluded there was no beneficial effect on mortality from taking vitamins. And therefore, the lead researcher saying, or I should say, declaring, quote, unquote, case closed. No more research needed, no debate, no peer review, no, I win, you lose, case closed, here's my diploma. All right, so in the spirit of megalomania, let's just basically make a quick rebuttal. Now, I have a website called www.healthresearchreport.me, which will have the footnotes, the titles of these peer-reviewed studies, which are there for anybody to see. And this is only the first 10 studies I could find, maybe within 15 minutes of effort, and I'm sure you could too. So let's look at this. Multivitamins and minerals may protect older women against invasive breast cancer. Vitamins and minerals can boost energy and enhance mood. The good news in our DNA, defects you can fix with vitamins and minerals. Micronutrient supplements reduce the risk of HIV, disease progression, and illness. Now let's go to some individual ones. Calcium supplements linked to longer lifespans. Vitamin C rapidly improves emotional state of acutely hospitalized patients. Researchers developed dietary formula that maintains youthful function into old age. Zinc supplementation increases activation of T cells responsible for destroying viruses and bacteria. Stopping diabetes damage with vitamin C. And not just all in the mind, how a vitamin a day can help boost memory. And I think I should just digress. So, when watching the news of these big news programs such as CNN or reading such publications as The Times, remember, they are good for entertainment. If you want to debate the color of Santa Claus's skin, these are the channels that you watch. If you want actual news pertinent to your health, I recommend you venture out on your own and research from well-studied documentation where conflicts of interest are listed and footnotes are available. Now, let's go on to actual news. Vitamin D decreases pain in women with type 2 diabetes and depression. This came out of the conference October 24th, research conference at Loyola Health Science Campus. What researchers discovered was this. In this study, tested the efficacy of vitamin D2. Now, this is ergocalciferol, the vegetarian form of vitamin D, not the calciferol that you normally see, which is derived from fish or meat sources, sometimes mushroom. They gave 50,000 IUs for 6 months. Remember, 50,000 IUs a week, not a day. For 6 months on depression in women with type 2 diabetes. Depression significantly improved following the supplementation of D2. In addition, 61% of patients reported shooting a burning pain in their legs and feet from neuropathic pain, and 74% reported numbness and tingling in their hands, fingers, and legs, otherwise known as sensory pain, at the beginning of the study. Researchers found a significant decrease in neuropathic pain and sensory pain at 3 to 6 months following D2 supplementation. Now, unlike drugs, nutrients usually require a little bit more time to get into the system. So remember, they did 3 to 6 months. It reduced neuropathic pain and sensory pain, but it had 50,000 IUs for a total of a week of D2, which again is ergo, when you look at the back, calciferol. Your vitamin D doesn't say ergo or calciferol, what type, then you got a junky vitamin D. So ergocalciferol was the form they used. Outside of that, we came up from an article out of the November 2013 Journal of Cancer. They made an article, quote, "Research finds combo of plant nutrients kills breast cancer cells. They have found that a super cocktail of 6 natural compounds in vegetables, fruits, and spices and plant roots killed," this is their words, 100% of sample breast cancer cells without toxic effects on normal cells. Again, footnotes, November 2013 Journal of Cancer. And I go on. Our primary cause of both recurrence of breast cancer and deaths in a small group of cancer stem cells that evade therapy. So they wanted to get something that got down to the stem cells. These often multi-drug resistant cells have the ability to generate new tumors. That's why it reoccurs, even though people think they're in the clear. So it's critically important to develop new approaches to a more effective and safer treatment of prevention of breast cancer. That's a good doctor. He's looking out for the patient. All right, the research team tested 10 known protective chemical nutrients found in foods like broccoli, grapes, apples, tofu, turmeric, otherwise known as Indian curry, before settling upon 6, which was curcumin, known as turmeric to them, isoflavone from soybeans, indole-3-carbinol from cruciferous plants, C-phytocyanin from spirulina, resveratrol from grapes, and quercetin from fruits, vegetables, and tea. They found the compounds, in their words, were ineffective individually. Now remember, I don't know the doses they utilized. I'm only going by what they say. And basically, individually, when combined, though, the super cocktail suppressed breast cancer cell growth by more than 80%, inhibited migration and invasion, caused cell arrest, and triggered the process leading to cell death, resulting in the death of 100% of breast cancer cells. The researchers observed no harmful effects on the control cells. Again, knowing how breast cancer is pervasive in the United States alone, this is actually news. This is what a real news channel would report, not hyperbole. All right, after that, another article that was breaking ground. This one came out of the University of Missouri and was published in, I believe, last month's November issue of Neuroscience Letters. What it was this. Natural compound mitigates effects of methamphetamine abuse. University of Missouri researchers find. Studies have shown that resveratrol, a natural compound found in colored fruits and vegetables, also one of those compounds they used in the breast cancer study, especially from grapes, may minimize the impact of Parkinson's disease. This is where they came up to methamphetamine, because methamphetamine use damages the neurons or dopamine receptors very similar to the way Parkinson's does. It says in Parkinson's disease, stroke, and Alzheimer's disease, and those who maintain a healthy diet who regularly take resveratrol supplements. Now, researchers at the University of Missouri have found that resveratrol may block the effects of the highly addictive drug methamphetamine. They said with repeated methamphetamine use, dopamine neurons may degenerate, causing neurological and behavioral impairments similar to those observed with people with Parkinson's disease. Resveratrol has been shown to regulate these dopamine neurons and to be protective in Parkinson's disease, a disorder where dopamine neurons degenerate. Therefore, we sought to determine if resveratrol could affect methamphetamine-induced changes in the brain. It says right now there is no consistent, basically effective treatments to help people dependent on methamphetamine. Their initial research suggests that resveratrol can be concluded in a treatment regime for those addicted to methamphetamine and has a potential to decrease the craving and desire for the drug. Interesting for those who are addicted to methamphetamine. Resveratrol has the impact of not only protecting you while you're on it, but it also has the ability to help you decrease your cravings for it. So again, that's pretty important and that's pretty significant. Again, they didn't recommend the dosage on this one. So however, usually it's between 50 and 100 milligrams, sometimes as high as 200 milligrams of resveratrol. Again, out of the journal, or I should say not journal, the Neuroscience Letters. And now to the organic debate. And obviously, John Stossel is nowhere around here, if you guys are familiar with the past in regards to organics and being, how would you say, sidelined. And this came to milk. What they discovered was this. In a titled article from Washington State University, researchers see added nutritional benefits from organic milk. Not just a little bit, but here I go. Organic forage raises levels of beneficial fats. Yeah, I guess I assume they're talking about grass-fed cattle. All right, the study is the first large-scale U.S.-wide comparison of organic and conventional milk. What they discovered was this. They were surprised to find that recommended intakes of full-fat milk from organic products supply far more than omega-3 fatty acids, even that come from fish. Something to think about. My time is up, and I appreciate you listening.
Ralph, thank you very much. Once again, do your research. And I want to give you those sites to look at. Again, you can see reruns of our show if you cannot get Comcast on youtube.com/VH film, and then healthresearchreport.m like in Mary E. You can get some of the clinical datas. And then once again, too, if you would like more information regarding our show, regarding the research, or on the Himalayan salts or the Soleil, you can contact any of the vitamin and herb stores. Thank you again for joining our show.